Welcome to part 4, where we'll be looking at shot types and the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In video, there are many different types of shots with different purposes. As digital marketers, we may need to understand a creative brief, and there will be annotated shot types in that brief. We may be making content and are storyboarding our ideas and types of shots. These are important terms to be familiar with when working in the digital marketing world. As marketers, we choose shot types intentionally because visual language influences perception. The thing to note is that when creating content, camera position communicates meaning. So wide shots establish context. Here's an example of a wide shot. Notice it shows the full environment. The viewer feels they understand the setting and context with the shot. It's often used as the start of a sequence to ground the story. Close-ups create emphasis and emotion. Here's an example of a close-up shot. Notice it is close to the coffee mug. There is even more emphasis on the coffee, as that it is the only thing in focus. Over-the-shoulder shots place viewers inside the conversation. Here is an example of over-shoulder shot. The camera is behind the boy. This shot is good for conversations, demos, or interview-style pieces. Low angles create power. In this example, the camera is near the ground looking up at a dunk shot. There is power in the scale and dramatic tension in the movement. Medium shots feel conversational. In this example, the subject is straight ahead of the camera, showing him in his environment. It is neutral in emotion. Because of that, it is the most common shot, the workhorse of video content. Extreme close-ups create drama and detail. In this example, we are very close up to the eye of a crocodile. You can see the texture, the details that normally you would never get to. This adds a dramatic effect to these shots. Overhead shots work well for products and tutorials. They are straight above and are common in food, product, and lifestyle content. Last is high angle shots. These are looking down on the subject. They create either vulnerability or authority. In this example, it creates vulnerability by the viewer watching kids play a simple game of ball. Content is often produced to be consumed on the internet. Even marketers should understand the basics of how the internet works. First, you must understand that your device that you use has an IP address specific to that device. When you use a device like a laptop, iPad, or smartphone, they each have that specific address. You use a browser that interprets the website you requested, the HTML. It sends out both the IP address of the requesting device and the HTML requested. Your ISP, or internet service provider, gives that request the ability to travel across the internet for a monthly fee, of course. It uses the DNS, or the domain name service, where it translates human-friendly names like google.com into machine-readable addresses. It then travels to a server that stores HTML files by a DNS number system. It fulfills the address request and travels back the same way that it traveled to the server, through the DNS, the ISP, and then to the IP address that requested it. Understanding these concepts helps you communicate effectively with developers and digital teams. Those teams are using different code to create web pages. Think of a web page like a house. HTML provides the structure. CSS provides appearance or style. JavaScript provides functionality or interaction, the movement. As a marketer, you don't need to become a programmer, but understanding the roles of these technologies makes you a stronger marketer because websites are often central to marketing campaigns. In your role, you may need to instruct changes using common terminology, or you may even need to inspect code yourself. HTML is the oldest markup language. It describes what it is. When coding, the program to use is TextMate or Notepad++. You can even inspect the page you are on in a browser. Everything on the internet is inspectable, and you can see how it was created. HTML is made up of tags that are open and closed. Closed signified by a /, and all tags are between the less than and greater than symbols. So for example, to start a page coded in HTML, you would type in TextMate, less than symbol HTML, greater than symbol. Everything in here now will be HTML. And then to close that tag, you would say less than signal / HTML and then greater than symbol. When naming files, the first page of the website is always called index.html. The next thing to understand is that there are tags. They're called block tags. They can be H1, H2, H3, P for paragraph, OL for ordered list, like list items in the tag, unordered list like bulleted list with list items in the tag. There is also inline tags. These are tags within the line of code. For example, you may have a block tag of P that has a link in that paragraph. You would have an inline tag within the block tag that opens and closes and refers that word to a link. Here's an example of HTML code for a recipe page. As I said, as a marketer, you may need to inspect code. Pause the video and review this slide and the next one, and see if you can find what is the most important text on this page. See if you can find the one mistake in the HTML code. Here's what that code would look like on a browser. If you said the most important text is a simple chocolate chip cookie recipe, you would be correct. It is an H1. H1 is the most important of all headings. If you said that the directions is coded wrong as an H1 and instead it should be an H2, then you correctly found the mistake. Now pause to take Creative Concepts Week 1, Part 4, Check Your Understanding quiz.